as always, early people get something special, which I will not acknowledge for the rest of the stream, and it's that this song is stuck in my head, and I don't even remember the name of it, and I only remember two lines, and it's the Heart and Soul song. That probably doesn't make any sense. I probably need to sing a little bit. It's heart and soul. I fell in love with you, heart and soul, just like a fool would do madly when you held me tight and stole a kiss in the night. Okay, that's it. Bye. I'll be back in a minute. I'm muted. Here we go. I was just complaining that my chair doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's sitting properly. I was trying to fix it while also catching up on my Discord, because the only time I can convince myself to go through the hundreds of messages are when I'm starting stream. But yeah, as you can see, I'm going to be using Love Disc because he's just a little guy. And I'm gonna be practicing my Adobe because I haven't in a while. And that's... I'll be honest, I didn't feel creative enough for poetry tonight. I do want to keep doing the poetry, but tonight I am just tired, and shapes are better than anything else. And I was like, well, I could try to freehand Love Disc a little bit. I feel like for the beak, I need to be right there. I like that. But yeah, I did I had some Adobe classes back in college. Actually, I need to, and then pull that. No, was it Alt handle? Yeah, Alt handle. There we go. I had some Adobe classes back in college. Alt handle, give me more. And we can go back and add, or the first line is freehand. It's not going to be quite right. And then we're coming in not too harshly. Probably not more than that. Except it's down here towards the beak. Yeah, we'll put it there, and we will bring it in about like that, maybe? That looks about right. Definitely gotta alt the handle out of that, though. Okay. And if I do... like, this is gonna be much bigger than the original one was. But that's okay. Maybe like that? I just realized I'm covering up chat, so I wouldn't be able to see anybody. Okay, fix that. Let's see, and then maybe like that. Okay, I like how that's going. And we'll anchor it back, and let's scale it appropriately. How close did we get? You know what? For a freehand, that's not too bad. I'll take it, and we can adjust from here. Okay, my first adjustment is that dot. I don't like it. However, can we just work this with the handle? Work it around like that, maybe? I like how that's looking. Yeah, that works. Okay. Didn't like that one either. Oop, not what I wanted to do. Oop. And this handle here, I feel like it needs to come out a little bit more, maybe like that. And this one, like that maybe. Now this handle here could definitely use with some, yeah. There, got that smoothed out at least. This one could be smoother. Really feel like we need another dot right down here to mess with. Then we'll pull it out a little bit, just like that maybe. Maybe about like that. Yeah, we're going to need some more dots. The top part, I think I accidentally got really close on that. This bottom part, though, we just need more to work with. Right. This handle needs to come around. This one does as well. A bit too much there. Longer handle is going to generally give us a bit smoother, if I remember my classes correctly. Feel very... I can almost feel the focus happening. Okay. Now, this guy, we should probably bring out a bit... we should bring him up, is what we should do. And then bring this handle down to soften out the beak. How close we get. The beak is still too pointy. But otherwise, the dimensions are kind of working. So let's do this. Let's make beak less pointy by giving it just some more to work with. That's a bit... that feels a bit too sharp. So... oh, that's better. That already works a lot better, I think. Okay. Kind of feel like that bottom part needed to be a little rounder. I feel like we're really getting close here now. You know what? It's not like 100% accurate to original art, but I feel like we're getting pretty close. Okay, so let's do this. This one needs to be brought down just a little bit. This one could be brought up just a little bit. Okay. All right, I'm gonna say that's close enough on the body outline. I have no idea what this is. This must be new. Why am I able to make arcs all of a sudden? Yeah, I'm gonna say that's close enough. Let's make some circles. Let's see. Yes. Not quite that. Here we go. Rectangle builder. Ellipse tool. That's the ticket. Okay, so the spot under its eye, it looks to be almost exactly the same size as the eye and pretty much the same shape. So we can just copy, paste that right about there. That looks like it should work. And just for my own sanity, I will quickly get some color going. Right? Dropper. Dropper, and then... I feel pretty old, but shouldn't there be a fill tool? Ah, there we go. Figured it out. I'm good at stuff. Now the path just needs to be given its black line. Am I stupid? That should have applied the color, right? There we go. I feel like I'm scaring my computer a little bit, but that's okay. All right. And then we need a slightly smaller ellipse for the eye dot, which will not have any path to it. That one's going to be pretty pure white. Actually, should just be that. That'll work. Nope. Need to stop doing that. Now this bad boy can go all black. That works. Bring the eye up a little bit and it'll be... Oh, hey, this is doing a thing right there. It's amazing how much a little iris can do for a little doodle guy. Let me just... zoom out a little bit for my own sanity. There we go. Now, the thing that's a little hard for me to do is make some... Right, this still looks flat, and I need to make it not look flat, and I think that's mostly going to be color. So the mouth. The mouth is mostly a circle, kind of just connects to those two lines right there. And then that. So yeah, we kind of just need an arc right there. Okay. I can make that work. Oop, nope. Let me think. How am I supposed to do this? Let's ask that question. It's not the width. That's semi-interesting. That is definitely new. Remove parts of paths or shapes. Interesting. I think I've got an idea here. We make... Put it there. Eraser. All the way around that. Hey, that was almost a thing. Okay. We're getting close. Okay. And we can adjust from here. I like that. Hey, that kind of works. That worked. And we'll give him a little goofy smile. Look how this is coming along pretty okay. Smile can't be there, though. Has to be, like, right there. I know that one doesn't quite connect, but we can zoom in a little bit here. We can zoom in and just pop, pop. No, it's hitting that shape too. Interesting. Okay. Well, this little line, I can just move it. Okay. Ooh. How that works is very interesting. But like at this point, this is basically a love disc, right? This is basically a love disc. I don't know why it keeps dinging at me when I do that. You guys can't hear it, but the program keeps dinging at me when I double click on this part of the swatch. I don't know why. There we go. All right, so what else do we need to do here? It's really just about the coloring, and we need... Let's see if there's any effect that could help out here. I feel like we need something artistic, like a colored pencil almost. Oh, interesting. Oh, dear, it's opened up an entirely new thing. Okay. Was not sure what that window was at all. So let's do this. Let's first apply the basic color we need, which is this. And now it's a very flat looking love disc. He needs his outline as well. And we need to make the outside path just a bit thicker. Okay. Is it only hitting from anchor to anchor? I think it is. Interesting. So do I have to... need to get... Yeah, you need to get completely out of the way here. You know what, Love Disc? You've served your time as big, Love Disc. I really just need you here for small details now, so you will be small. Okay, so... select... and then width? Nope, that didn't work. I do not know how you're supposed to work with the entirety of the shape. Is it by the anchor? Do you have to do it from here? No. This is so unstandardized. Also, my computer is reacting a little slowly to this. It's usually fine, uh, but I think the streaming and the Adobe is a little bit much for its poor little brains. But that's okay. I mean, we're nearly done. This only took me, like, what? 15 minutes? 20 minutes? Something like that? Oop, not you. Sorry. Man. See that? And... okay. That works. Now, how do I think we do have to play with the effects here. I can pixelate this thing? Like 8-bit? Can you guys see that window? I have no idea. No, you can't. Trust me when I say a window has popped up that I am now playing with. And I am curious to see... oh dear. What happens if I click OK? Oh, it did it just to that path. Okay. Interesting. So first things first, select the whole thing. You go away. Okay. And then I really want to see what that pixelized is. Maybe pointilize will do that. Oh, interesting. This is really cool, actually. I could play with this for a while. Oh, this is how they do the little the color, the colorblind tests. Mezzotint. Now you know. Okay. Color halftone. Is that actual bits? Oh dear. I have no idea. Okay. We'll do the crystallize. We'll do it right. See, that's not pixelating in the way you would expect it to. It's just doing the lines and nothing else. Okay. So what happens if we do what we were originally going to do and maybe like colored pencil it? It's gonna pop open a big window on my side. Here we go. Why would it do this? That is not at all what I would expect. Oh no. I'm seeing some very fun things over here. You guys are just gonna have to trust me. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I think we're going to have to group these before I can actually do anything super fun with it. But there is some fun material here. Ooh. Okay, so that's basically broken. Good to know. Oh, weird. That's such a... Sorry, there's just a lot of interesting effects going on over here. Oh. Oh, that's some interesting texturing. These are so weird. Okay. I'm glad I did this tonight. It's fun. This one just turns it into stained glass. We might end on the stained glass love disc tonight. Who knows? Watch this. Ta-da! Stained glass love disc. What would I use this for? No idea. But it's fun to know. How long did that take me? And I was kind of dicking around. Let's say 30 minutes to do that freehand. It makes me wonder what I would be able to do in more like a custom pose or something, you know. Because, like, this is basically a glorified tracing with a cool effect on it. It is still a cool effect. And the tracing is, I will say, not half bad. It doesn't have that kind of angular sense to it, but I think that's just because I can't really do the coloring right now. That gives it an angular sense. Stained glass love disc was fun. Now, unfortunately, I don't know. Oh, perspective. I have no idea how to do any of that. Okay, so there is perspective, I guess. So, theoretically, another thing I could do is borderless shapes that would take up those lighter colors. So, like, I could do an ellipse right here, make it colorless. For the front part, we take from right there. It's like, oh, yeah, there you go. Which is it for the fun? It's supposed to be a bigger blotch, and then, you know, we can play with it a little bit. Like that, yeah. Interesting what we can do with this little program here. And we could we could apply. Well, we'll start back here. And we just kind of work it. Like that. Scroll up a little bit. Ooh, what just happened? I have no idea. Pick it up and we go this way with it. Just kind of track that best we can. Then we make sure that the coloring is right. Oh, hey, we're doing stuff here. And we can just shuffle that up a little bit, make it hit a bit harder. Hey now. You just need a little bloop right there for some extra shine. Then we can mess with the handles a little bit here. Need to get the color right so I can actually see it. It's a bit too angular. So let me just yeah, just a little bit of a sliver like that. We can make it just a tiny bit bigger. Hey, for just sticking around a little bit in Adobe, this isn't going too bad here. Like, all of a sudden, this is gaining angular momentum. We need to copy it down here. And, oop, not that. Need all of that stuff. Ungroup, thank you very much. Want to get, nope. That one, thank you, get rid of that. Rest of everything here, let's, except for you. Except for you. Thank you. Group it. Alright, just need to do the same thing as before down here. More dots are better than few. Want to give the light a more wavy appearance. And we can just sidle it right there. Oh, making it wavy was actually super helpful, I think. Look at me go. All right, this is surprisingly working. I like it. I like that it's working. Now I do need just I say need. I want. Just a little smiley guy right there. And no fill, yes border. Just a little smile that we can then widen. I like that a lot. Okay, the one thing we're missing is that the mouth is not included in the angularness yet, because this doesn't quite stretch all the way down. And I don't know how to quite do that. It's like we can... Oh, not that button. I'll figure out what button it is here in a moment. Here it is. We can just literally stretch it down here and add some dots to kind of bring it around town. Oh dear, I seem to have copied it. But then, how do I... Actually, we can make this a gradient, right? Am I dumb? Okay, so I gotta... No gradients allowed? What's going on here? Won't do... It refuses to do a grade... Is it because it already has color? Do I have to remove the color in order to... Okay, yes, I do. Okay. And the color guide here is this color into a slightly lighter version of this color. Okay, so I need to do that first. Oof. Okay, I do not know how to use this. Never mind. Let me think for a second. What is a creative way to solve this problem? I just need it to shine into the mouth area just a tiny bit. I'm sure I have something for this. Not exactly what I was needing. Something for a later date. I can't just, like, move this up, can I? This isn't, like, supposed to be used for this. It's not supposed to be used for this kind of art. Oh. Oh, I can. Oh, I don't have any layers, do I? I will have to make a new layer specifically for this. Brilliant. How do I actually do that? Wait, no, seriously, where's the layer button? Is it this button? Oh no, that's just a canvas maker. Okay, that's fun. What are you? The shape builder. Okay. I'm gonna bring this back to where it was, because it was a good shape before. Okay. I guess maybe the answer is in this path here. Not what I meant to do, but I think I'm on the right track there. No, I want to move you. I can move it, right? Oh, no, I copied it. Can's move it out a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted to do. Why wasn't I just doing it before? No, except for this admittedly very goofy and wonderful smile that I can, make even bigger and goofier. And also just, I can move it in a little bit to be slightly more accurate. That's not half bad. For like, what is this? For 50 minutes in Illustrator trying to recreate a beautiful hand-drawn work of art. I'll take it. I'll take it. That's not terrible. I'm going to consider that a win. It's it is a pale facsimile of the original, but I am going to consider it a win. And with that, I think we are done with the illustrator part of today. What a silly idea. Okay. All right, so we are going to update to Dracula now. And we are actually going to read some Dracula. It's been a couple of weeks. But you know what? It will be good for us. And by good, I mean my blood will definitely be moving around in my body because it does not want to be anywhere near this story. But it will be good for us. Alright, let me pull this bad boy up. Oh, man. Drac is a character. Oh, I had to remind myself earlier of where we left off, because it's been a couple weeks for me. As it has been for you. It's been the same amount of time. But we are in chapter 11. Oh, let me restart, because I didn't mark it. Alright, we are in chapter 11, where we are reading, going to be reading a part of Lucy Westerna's diary. You might have remembered that poor Lucy has taken quite ill as of late, and yeah, it's Dracula. Yeah, it's Dracula sucking her blood. She was too hot for this world, and so Dracula decided that he should get to have her, and of course, as one does, sucked her blood. That's what's happening. Anyone with half a brain cell could read between those lines and figure that out. I am not spoiling anything for you. At the end of the last chapter, one Abraham Van Helsing decided that what they really needed was garlic flour specifically. So garlands of garlic flowers have been placed all around her room and around her neck in order to keep her safe. That's where we pick up here in chapter 11. So, we'll pick up in Lucy Westerna's diary. It says this. The 12th of December. How good they all are to me. I quite love that dear Dr. Van Helsing. I wonder why he was so anxious about these flowers. He positively frightened me, he was so fierce. And yet he must have been right, for I feel comfort from them already. Somehow I do not dread being alone tonight, and I can go to sleep without fear. I shall not mind any flapping outside the window. Oh, the terrible struggle that I have had against sleep so often of late. The pain of the sleeplessness, or the pain of the fear of sleep, with such unknown horrors as it has for me. How blessed are some people, whose lives have no fears, no dreads, to whom sleep is a blessing that comes nightly, and brings nothing but sweet dreams. Well, here I am tonight, hoping for sleep, and lying like Ophelia in the play, with virgin krantz and maiden struments. I never liked garlic before, but tonight it is delightful. There is peace in its smell. I feel sleep coming already. Good night, everybody. We turn now to Dr. Seward's diary. On the 13th of September, it says this. Called at the Berkeley and found Van Helsing, as usual, up to time. The carriage ordered from the hotel was waiting. The professor took his bag, which he always brings with him now. Let all be put down exactly. Van Helsing and I arrived at Hillingham at 8 o'clock. It was a lovely morning. The bright sunshine and all the fresh feeling of early autumn seemed like the completion of nature's annual work. The leaves were turning to all kinds of beautiful colors, but had not yet begun to drop from the trees. When we entered, we met Mrs. Westerna coming out of the morning room. She is always an early riser. She greeted us warmly and said, "You will be glad to know that Lucy is better. The dear child is still asleep." I looked into her room and saw her, but did not go in, lest I should disturb her. The professor smiled and looked quite jubilant. He rubbed his hands together and said, "Aha! I thought I had diagnosed the case. My treatment is working." To which she answered, "You must not take all the credit to yourself, doctor. Lucy's state this morning is due in part to me." "How do you mean, ma'am?" asked the professor. "Well, I was anxious about the dear child in the night and went into her room. She was sleeping soundly, so soundly that even my coming did not wake her, but the room was awfully stuffy. There were a lot of these horrible, strong-smelling flowers about everywhere, and she actually had a bunch of them around her neck. I feared that the heavy odor would be too much for the dear child in her weak state, so I took them all away and opened a bit of the window to let in a little fresh air. You'll be pleased with her, I am sure." She moved off into her boudoir, where she usually breakfasted early. As she had spoken, I watched the professor's face and saw it turn ashen gray. He had been able to retain his self-command whilst the poor lady was present, for he knew her state and how mischievous a shock would be. He actually smiled on her as he held open the door for her to pass into her room. But the instant she had disappeared, he pulled me, sudden and forcibly, into the dining room and closed the door. Then, for the first time in my life, I saw Van Helsing break down. He raised his hands over his head in a sort of mute despair, and then beat his palms together in a helpless way. Finally, he sat down on a chair and, putting his hands before his face, began to sob, with loud, dry sobs that seemed to come from the very racking of his heart. Then he raised his arms again as though appealing to the whole universe. "God, God, God," he said. "What have we done? What has this poor thing done, that we are so sore beset? Is there fate amongst us still, sent down from the pagan world of old, that such things must be, and in such way? This poor mother, all unknowing, and for the best does she think, does such thing as lose her daughter body and soul. And we must not tell her. We must not even warn her, or she die, and then both die. Oh, we are beset. How are all the powers of the devils against us?" Suddenly he jumped to his feet. "Come," he said. "Come, we must see and act. Devils or no devils, or all the devils at once. It matters not. We fight him all the same." He went to the hall door for his bag, and together we went up to Lucy's room. Once again I drew up the blind whilst Van Helsing went towards the bed. This time he did not start as he looked on the poor face, with the same awful waxen pallor as before. He took a look of stern sadness and infinite pity. "As I expected," he muttered, with that hissing inspiration of his which meant so much. Without a word, he went and locked the door, and then began to set out on the table the instruments for yet another operation of transfusion of blood. I had long ago recognized the necessity and begun to take off my coat, but he stopped me with a warning hand. "No," he said, "today you must operate. I shall provide. You are weakened already." As he spoke, he took off his coat and rolled up his shirt sleeve. Again the operation. Again the narcotic. Again some return of color to the ashy cheeks and the regular breathing of healthy sleep. This time I watched whilst Van Helsing recruited himself and rested. Presently he took an opportunity of telling Mrs. Westerna that she must not remove anything from Lucy's room without consulting him, that the flowers were of medicinal value, and that breathing their odor was a part of the system of cure. Then he took over the care of the case himself, saying that he would watch this night and the next and would send me word when to come. After another hour, Lucy waked from her sleep, fresh and bright and seemingly not much the worse for her terrible ordeal. What does it all mean? I am beginning to wonder if my lifelong habit of life amongst the insane is beginning to tell upon my own brain. Lucy Westerna's diary. The 17th of December, 4 days later. 4 days and nights of peace. I am getting so strong again that I hardly know myself. It is as if I had just passed through some long nightmare, and had just awakened to see the beautiful sunshine and feel the fresh air of the morning around me. I have a dim half-remembrance of long, anxious times of waiting and fearing, darkness in which there was not even the pain of hope to make present distress more poignant, and then long spells of oblivion and the rising back to life as a diver, coming up through a great press of water. Since, however, Dr. Van Helsing has been with me, all of this bad dreaming seems to have passed away. The noises that used to frighten me out of my wits, the flapping against the windows, and the distant voices which seemed so close to me, the harsh sounds that came from I know not where and commanded me to do I know not what, they've all ceased. I go to bed now without any fear of sleep. I do not even try to stay awake. I have grown quite fond of the garlic, and a boxful arrives for me every day from Haarlem. Tonight, Dr. Van Helsing is going away, as he has to be for a day in Amsterdam. But I need not be watched. I am well enough to be left alone. Thank God for Mother's sake and dear Arthur's, and for all of our friends who have been so kind. I shall not even feel the change. For last night, Dr. Van Helsing slept in his chair a lot of the time. I found him asleep twice when I awoke, but I did not fear to go asleep again, although the boughs of bats or something napped almost angrily against the window panes. Ooh. Now we turned to the Pall Mall Gazette on the 18th of September. An article titled "The Escaped Wolf, the Perilous Adventure of Our Interviewer," an interview with the keeper in the zoological gardens. Seems quite an interesting little article here. After many inquiries and almost as many refusals, and perpetually using the words Pall Mall Gazette as a sort of talisman, I managed to find the keeper of the section of the zoological gardens in which the wolf department is included. Thomas Builder lives in one of the cottages in the enclosure behind the Elephant House, and was just sitting down to his tea when I found him. Thomas and his wife are hospitable folk, elderly, without children, and if the specimen I enjoyed of their hospitality be of the average kind, their lives must be pretty comfortable. The keeper would not enter on what he called business until the supper was over, and we were all satisfied. Then, when the table was cleared and he had lit his pipe, he said, "Now, sir, you can go on and ask me what you want. You'll excuse me for refusing to talk of professional subjects afore meals. I gives the wolves and the jackals and the hyenas and all our section their tea afore I begins to ask them questions." "How do you mean, ask them questions?" I queried, wishful to get him into a talkative humor. "Hitting of them over the head with a ball is one way. Scratching of their ears is another, when gents as flush wants a bit of a shower off to their gals. I don't much mind the fuss, the hitting with the pole after fours I chuck in their dinner, but I waits till after they've had their sherry and coffee, so to speak, afore I tries on 'em the ear scratching. Mind you," he added philosophically, "there's a deal of the same nature in us as in them there animals. Here's you a-comin' and asking of me questions about my business, and I that grumpy like that only for your bloomin' half quid. I'd a seen you blowed first before I'd answer. Now, even when you ask me sarcastic-like, if I'd like you to ask the superintendent, if you might ask me questions. Without offense, did I tell you to go to hell?" "You did." When you said you'd report me for using of obscene language that was fitting me over the head. But the half quid that made that all right." I want to go into fight, so I waited for the food, and did with my owl as with the wolves and lions and tigers does. But, Lord love your heart, now that the old woman has stuck a chuck of her tea cake in me, and rinsed me out with her bloomin' old teapot, and I've lit up, you may scratch my ears for all you're worth, and won't get even a growl out of me. Drive along with your questions. I know what you're coming at. That escaped wolf. This guy has such an accent. I'm reading it as it's written. This isn't an accent I made up on the spot. Exactly. I want you to give me your view of it. Just tell me how it happened, and when I know the facts, I'll get you to say what you consider the cause of it was, and how you think the whole affair will end. All right, Governor. This here is about the whole story. That there wolf, what we called Berserker, was one of the 3 grey ones that came from Norway to Jamrex, which we bought off him 4 years ago. He was a nice, well-behaved wolf, never gave no trouble to talk of. I'm more surprised at him for waiting to get out, not for any other animal in the place. But there you can't trust wolves no more, not women. Don't you mind him, sir, broke in Mrs. Tom with a cheery laugh. He's got minding the animals so long that bless if he ain't like an old wolf himself. But there ain't no harm in him. Well, sir, it was just about 2 hours after feeding yesterday when I first heard my disturbance. I was making up a litter in the monkey house for a young puma which is ill. But when I heard the yelping and yowling, I came straight away. There was Berserker, a tearing like a mad thing at the bars as if he only wanted to get out. There wasn't much people about that day, and close at hand was only one man, a tall, thin chap with a hook nose and a pointed beard, few white hairs running through it. He had an odd, cold-looking red eyes, and I took a sort of mislike to him, for it seemed as if it was him that was irritated at. He had white kid gloves on his hands, and he pointed out the animals to me, and he said, "Caper, these wolves seem upset or something." "Maybe it's you," says I, for I did not like the airs he's give himself. He didn't get angry as I hoped he would, but he smiled, a kind of insolent smile, and with a mouth full of white, sharp teeth. "Oh, no, they wouldn't like me," he says. "Oh, yes, they would," says I, intimating at him. "They always like a bone or two to clean their teeth on around tea time, which you is a bagful." Well, it was an odd thing. But when the animals started seeing us a-talking, they lay down. And when I went over to Berserker, he let me stroke his ear same as ever. That there man came over, and bless but if he didn't put his hand and stroke the old wolf's ears too. "Take care," says I, "Berserker's quick." "Never mind," he says, "I'm used to 'em." "Are you in the business yourself?" I says, taking off my hat, for a man what traves in wolves and Cessiter is a good friend to Capers. "No," says he, "not exactly in the business, but I've made pets of several." And with that he lifts his hat, as polite as a lord, and walks away. Old Berserker kept looking after him till he was out of sight, and then went and lay down in a corner and wouldn't come out about the whole evening. Well, last night, so soon as the moon was up, the wolves here all began howling. There wasn't nothing for them to howl at. There wasn't no one there, except someone that was evidently a-calling a dog somewheres out back of the gardens in the park road. Once or twice, I went out to see that all was right, and it was, and the howling stopped. Just before 12 o'clock, I took a look round before turning in, and bust me, but when I came opposite to old Berserker's cage, I see the rails broken and twisted about, and the cage empty. And that's all I know for certain. Did anyone else see anything? One of our gardeners was a-coming around about that time, from Harmony when he sees a big grey dog coming out of the gardening edges. At last, so he says, but I don't give much for it myself, for if he did, he never said a word about it to his missus when he got home, and it was only after the escape of the wolf was made known, and when we had been up all night a-hunting for the pack of Berserker, that he remembers seeing anything. My own belief was that Harmony had gotten into his head. Now, Mr. Builder, can you account in any way for the escape of the wolf? Well, sir, he said with a suspicious sort of modesty, I think I can, but I don't know as how you'd be satisfied with the fairy. Certainly I shall, if a man like you, who knows the animals from experience, can't hazard a good guess at any rate, who is even a try. Well then, sir, I accounts for it this way. It seems to me that there wolf escaped simply because he wanted to get out. From the hearty way that both Thomas and his wife laughed at the joke, I could see that it had done service before, and that the whole explanation was simply an elaborate sell. I couldn't cope in badinage with the worthy Thomas, but I thought I knew a surer way to his heart, so I said, Now, Mr. Builder, we'll consider that first half-sovereign worked off, and this brother of his is waiting to be claimed when you told me what you think will happen. Right you are, sir, he said briskly. You'll excuse me, I know, for a chaffing of ye, but the old woman here winked at me, which was as much as telling me to go on. Well, I never. My opinion is this. That there wolf is a hiding of somewheres. The gardener what didn't remember said he was a galloping northward faster than a horse could go. But I don't believe him, for you see, sir, wolves don't gallop, nor more dogs do. They're not being built that way. Wolves is fine things in a storybook, and I dare say they get in packs. They do be chivying something more as afeard than they is. They can make a devil of a noise and chop it up, whatever it is. But Lord bless ya, in real life, a wolf is only a low creature. Not so half so clever or bold as a good dog. Not even a quarter so much fighting him. This one ain't been used to fighting, or even to providing for himself, and more like he's somewhere round the park a-hiding and a-shivering of, and if he thinks at all, wondering where he is to get his breakfast from, or maybe he's got down some area and is a coal cellar. My eye, won't some cook get a rum start when she sees his green eyes a-shining at her out of the dark? If he can't get his food, he's bound to look for it, and mayhaps he may chance to light on a butcher's shop in time. If he doesn't, and some nursemaid goes a-walking off with a soldier, leaving off the infant in the perambulator, well, then I shouldn't be surprised if the census is one baby the less. That's all. I was handing him the half-sovereign when something came bobbing up against the window, and Mrs. Builder's face doubled in its natural length with the surprise. God bless me, he said, if there ain't old Berserker come back by herself. He went to the door and opened it, a most unnecessary proceeding, it seemed to me. I have always thought that a wild animal never looks so well as when some obstacle of pronounced durability is between us. A person's experience has intensified, rather than diminished that idea. After all, however, there is nothing like custom, for neither Builder nor his wife fought any more of the wolf than I should of a dog. The animal itself was as peaceful and well-behaved as that father of all picture wolves, Red Riding Hood's quondam friend, whilst moving her confidence in masquerade. The whole scene was an unutterable mixture of comedy and pathos. The wicked wolf that for half a day had paralyzed London and set all the children in the town shivering in their shoes was there in a sort of penitent mood, and was received and petted like a sort of vulpine prodigal son. Old Builder examined him all over with most tender solicitude, and when he had finished, with his penitent said, There, I knew the chap would get into some kind of trouble, didn't I say it all along? His head's all cut and full of broken glass. He's been a-getting over some bloomin' wall or another. It's a shame that people are allowed to top their walls with broken bottles. This here what comes of it. Come along, Berserker. took the wolf and locked him in a cage with a piece of meat that satisfied, in quantity at any rate, the elementary conditions of the fattened calf, and went off to report. I came off too to report the only exclusive information that is given today regarding the strange escapade at the zoo. Now, isn't that a lovely little article? Dracula, he wanted a wolf. He used a wolf for something. The wolf came back. All right. We're turning back to Dr. Seward's diary in the 17th of September. I was engaged after dinner in my study posting up my books, which, through press of other work and the many visits to Lucy, had fallen sadly into arrear. Suddenly, the door was burst open, and in rushed my patient with his face distorted with passion. I was thunderstruck, for such a thing as a patient getting of his own accord into the superintendent's study is almost unknown. Without an instant's pause, he made straight at me. He had a dinner knife in his hand, and as I saw he was dangerous, I tried to keep the table between us. He was too quick and too strong for me. For before I could get my balance, he had struck at me and cut my left wrist rather severely. Before he could strike again, however, I got in my right, and he was sprawling on his back on the floor. My wrist bled freely, and quite a little pool trickled onto the carpet. I saw that my friend was not intent on further effort, and occupied myself binding up my wrist, keeping a wary eye on the prostrate figure at all times. When the attendants rushed in, and we turned our attention to him, his employment positively sickened me. He was lying on his belly on the floor, licking up like a dog the blood which had fallen from my wounded wrist. He was easily secured, and to my surprise, went with the attendants quite placidly, simply repeating over and over again, "The blood is the life. The blood is the life." I cannot afford to lose blood just at present. I've lost too much of late for my physical good, and then the prolonged strain of Lucy's illness and its horrible phases is telling on me. I am overexcited and weary, and I need rest. Happily, Van Helsing has not summoned me, so I need not forego my sleep. Tonight, I could not do well without it. Telegram, Van Helsing, Antwerp, to Seward, Carfax. Sent to Carfax, Sussex, as no county given. Delivered late by 22 hours. Delivered late? Oh dear. 17th of September. Do not fail to be at Hillingham tonight. If not watching all the time frequently, visit and see that flowers are as placed. Very important. Do not fail. Shall be with you as soon as possible after arrival. Dr. Seward's diary. 18th of September. Just off for train to London. The arrival of Van Helsing's telegram filled me with the dismay. A whole night lost, and I know by bitter experience what may have happened in a night. Of course, it is possible that all may be well, but what may have happened? Surely there is some horrible doom hanging over us that every possible accident should thwart us in all we try to do. I shall take this cylinder with me, and then I can complete my entry on Lucy's phonograph. Man, this is about to get sad, isn't it? I don't like sad. Memorandum left by Lucy Westerna, the night of 17th of September. This is tying my tongue because I'm scared, folks. I write this and leave it to be seen, so that no one may by any chance get into trouble through me. This is an exact record of what took place tonight. I feel I am dying of weakness and have barely strength to write, but it must be done if I die in the doing. I went to bed as usual, taking care that the flowers were placed as Dr. Van Helsing directed, and soon fell asleep. I was waked by the flapping at the window, which had begun after that sleepwalking on the cliff at Whitby when Mina saved me, and which now I know so well. I was not afraid, but I did wish that Dr. Seward was in the next room, as Dr. Helsing had said he would be, so that I might have called to him. I tried to go to sleep, but could not. Then there came to me the old fear of sleep, and I determined to keep awake. Perversely, sleep would try to come then when I did not want it, so, as I feared to be alone, I opened my door and called out, "Is anybody there?" There was no answer. I was afraid to wake Mother and so closed my door again. Then outside in the shrubbery, I heard a sort of howl like a dog's, but more fierce and deeper. I went to the window and looked out, but could see nothing except a big bat, which had evidently been buffeting its wings against the window. So I went back to bed again, but determined not to go to sleep. Presently the door opened, and Mother looked in, seeing by my moving that I was not asleep, came in and sat by me. She said to me even more sweetly and softly than her wont, "I was uneasy about you, darling, and came in to see that you were all right." I feared she might catch cold sitting there and asked her to come in and sleep with me. So she came into bed and lay down beside me. She did not take off her dressing gown, for she said she would only stay a while and then go back to her own bed. As she lay there in my arms and I in hers, the flapping and buffeting came to the window again. She was startled and a little frightened, and I cried out, "What is that?" I tried to pacify her, and at last succeeded, and she lay quiet, but I could hear her poor dear heart still beating terribly. After a while, there was the low howl out again in the shrubbery, and shortly after there was a crash at the window, and a lot of broken glass was hurled on the floor. The window blind blew back with the wind that rushed in, and in the aperture of the broken panes there was the head of a great, gaunt, gray wolf. Mother cried out in a fright and struggled up into a sitting posture and clutched wildly at anything that would help her. Amongst other things, she clutched at the wreath of flowers that Dr. Van Helsing insisted on my wearing round my neck and tore it away from me. For a second or two, she sat up, pointing at the wolf, and then there was a strange and horrible gurgling in her throat. Then she fell over as if struck with lightning, and her head hit my forehead and made me dizzy for a moment or two. The room and all round seemed to spin round. I kept my eyes fixed on the window, but the wolf drew his head back, and a whole myriad of little specks seemed to come blowing in through the broken window, wheeling and circling round like the pillar of dust that travelers describe when there is a simoon in the desert. I tried to stir, but there was some spell upon me, and dear Mother's poor body, which seemed to grow cold already, for her dear heart had ceased to beat, weighed me down, and I remembered no more for a while. The time did not seem long, but very, very awful, till I recovered consciousness again. Somewhere near, a passing bell was tolling. The dogs all round the neighborhood were howling. And in our shrubbery, seemingly just outside, a nightingale was singing. I was dazed and stupid with pain and terror and weakness. But the sound of the nightingale seemed like the voice of my dead mother come back to comfort me. The sound seemed to have awakened the maids too, for I could hear their bare feet pattering outside my door. I called to them, and they came in. And when they saw what had happened, and what it was that lay over me on the bed, they screamed out. The wind rushed in through the broken window, and the door slammed too. They lifted off the body of my dear mother and laid her, covered up with a sheet, on the bed after I had got up. They were all so frightened and nervous that I directed them to go to the dining room and have each a glass of wine. The door flew open for an instant and closed again. The maid shrieked, and then went in a body to the dining room, and I laid what flowers I had on my dear mother's breast. When they were there, I remembered what Dr. Van Helsing had told me, but I didn't like to remove them, and besides, I would have some of the servants to sit up with me now. I was surprised that the maids did not come back. I called them, but got no answer, so I went to the dining room to look for help. My heart sank when I saw what had happened. They all four lay helpless on the floor, breathing heavily. The decanter of sherry was still on the table, half full. But there was a queer, acrid smell about. I was suspicious and examined the decanter. It smelt of laudanum. And looking on the sideboard, I found that the bottle which Mother's doctor uses for her, was empty. What am I to do? What am I to do? I am back in the room with Mother. I cannot leave her, and I am alone, save for the sleeping servants whom someone has drugged. Alone with the dead. I dare not go out, for I can hear the low howl of the wolf through the broken window. The air seems full of specks floating and circling in the draught from the window, and the lights burn blue and dim. What am I to do? God shield me from harm this night. I shall hide this paper in my breast, where they shall find it when they come to lay me out. My dear mother. My dear mother gone. It is time that I go too. Goodbye, dear Arthur. If I should not survive this night, God keep you, dear. And God help me. And that is the end of chapter 11. Ooh. Oh, man. A faithful adaptation of this book would terrify any audience. And it is a crime that no one has faithfully adapted this as of yet. Ooh, I am as lightheaded as poor Lucy. Oh. I am legitimately spooked. I know I say that after every chapter now, but that's only because I am legitimately spooked. I'm so glad I've got the fireplace sounds going, because I need them myself. They're somehow very focusing, because I'm recording alone, of course. And that's not good for me. Whew, okay. Well, what happened this chapter? Dracula recruited a wolf to get past the garlic. It worked. Wolf was returned home. Good boy. Lucy is... God, Lucy's dead, isn't she? I mean, we can only assume at this point what Dracula is doing by not consuming her entirely in a single night, as it's been alluded that he has the ability to. It's that he is wanting to turn her, right? He wants a new bride. He left all the other brides back in Transylvania. He wants a new bride. That's what's happening. Oof. The way Bram Stoker sets up all the elements so that you can get gut punched because you know exactly what's coming. You can kind of put it together yourself. You may not get all the details, but you can kind of put it together yourself. So you just have this dread as you keep reading. And then when the bad thing actually happens, dread turns to horror. He's outrageously good at this. Whew. All right. I'm glad I started a little early today, because that chapter actually took longer than most of them do. Probably because I was that scared. I didn't like that at all. Okay, who do I raid? Let's see. Oh, Faye's live. I've been meaning to raid Faye for a while. We can raid Faye. She's an airplane. it's a great selling point, honestly. Is an airplane is a great selling point. So we will raid Faye. I have no idea what a raid message would be after the stream. Oh god. Rip Mrs. Westerna? I don't know, man. No raid message today. We're just gonna go say hi. Oh man. Oh gosh, this one really did mess me up pretty bad. Okay, I will see you guys not on Sunday actually. I have some overtime this Sunday. So probably next Tuesday again I will see you guys. But for now, thanks everyone for stopping by. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you enjoyed the thrill of dread paying off in full horror. I know I didn't. All right, I'll see you guys. See you guys on Tuesday. Say hi to Faye for me.